Barbuda, the sister island of Antigua. A beautiful, tranquil, and virtually untouched paradise. Home to about 1,200 residents and also to the Twin Island state's only endemic bird. In April of 2019, members of the Environmental Awareness Group of Antigua and Barbuda visited Barbuda to conduct ecological surveys of the Barbuda Warbler.
Some years ago, birders from Antigua as well as international birders realized that there was a different species of warbler in Barbuda. This Barbuda warbler could be found nowhere else in the world. We were able to get some funding from the Global Wildlife Conservation to do some surveys in this recent time in 2019.
The last time a population survey was done of the Barbuda warbler was in 2017, a month after Hurricane Irma devastated the island. There had been much concern about the survival of the bird after the survey results showed a decline in the estimated population of 3,000.
Of course, we would have come in November 2017, so it was directly after the hurricane. So I do think in some of the areas we saw the Barbuda warblers kind of all over the place because they were just looking for anywhere that they were able to get food. This time, I think that the Barbuda warblers, that they're kind of settling back into their routine.
The Environmental Awareness Group partnered with Birds Caribbean, Fauna and Flora International, and the Department of the Environment to carry out the updated bird surveys.
The relationship between EAG and Birds Caribbean is both organizations are really devoted to conserving birds throughout the Caribbean for Birds Caribbean and Antigua and Barbuda. What we're trying to determine is the population size of the Barbuda warbler, which is endemic to the island of Barbuda. It's the only bird that's endemic to the Antigua Barbuda country. We've been working very closely with the EAG over the last week and several people with EAG, training them how to do these surveys, how to go about counting the birds, and so we can monitor this population from now into the future so that my grandkids can come down and see what I've seen.
These small, endemic birds can be found in many regions throughout the island.
We are doing number 10.
The team conducts the survey by using 3 methods: distance sampling, removal count, and repetition.
So we go to the same point several times and we measure in a lapse time of 6 minutes all the birds that we hear and we see, of course including the Barbuda Warbler, and we take the distance to these birds. Also we take an angle to them. And then we can analyze this data in 3 different ways, and if we hopefully will get the same results or similar results for all this analysis, indicating that our methodology and the data is being collected in a good way, and there is solid data and solid results. And this combination gives the best results. Because the Barbuda warblers don't take all of our time that we are surveying, it's really nice to have data on as many species as possible, because different species will be indicators of different things. From our goals, we found all the data we needed. Now there are other aspects of the warbler that should be also studying, and that there is basically no information about them, like their breeding season, like their nesting behavior, like their nesting success, where are these nests, at what time of the year. All this data we still don't have.
We really have been able to see a lot more birds, kestrels, bullfinches, just such a large amount of wildlife here. I find that the Barbudans, I think they're so accustomed to it that they forget. And so this is where I'm thinking, how can EAG help the Barbudans to have an appreciation for all the environment that's around them?
I think that is important for everybody to know about birds. Once you see birds around, it's also a healthier environment anyway that you're seeing birds. And I think it's important for us to continue conserving them.
The 160-kilometer square virtually untouched paradise also has one of the largest frigatebird colonies in the Caribbean region and the Western Hemisphere. But after years of thriving in a mostly untouched and protected habitat, the magnificent frigate also saw its habitat threatened by Mother Nature's wrath.
In 2017, right after the hurricane, I was a part of the group that did the environmental impact assessment surveys right after. Like when we came, it was complete silence because all of us were so shocked that there was absolutely basically no mangroves left. There was big trailers in here, big containers, so much garbage, and then we came around the corner and we just saw these frigate birds just sitting on this dead mangrove. It was so heartbreaking.
When I came here, there was nothing green. Like all the red mangroves that I was accustomed to see prior to Hurricane Irma just seemed to roll over. They were just all rolled up in a pile and it was totally brown. In November when I came, I saw, I think it was 30 adults, mix of male, female, no chicks at all.
It was a really, really low number compared to the 10,000 that is supposed to be here. And so we knew the birds would have been fine, but it was just so heartbreaking because we knew with the change in their habitat, they would really be affected.
The count is conducted using rapid point count and is separated amongst the group. One person counts adult males, while another person counts adult females, and then two other persons count young chicks. In all, the group counted a total of 7,451 magnificent frigate birds.
We have been able to at least see some changes, and it's not like if, the mangroves are back like nothing had ever happened, but we can see the signs of growth, and we can see that the frigate birds, they are adapting and that they're still thriving here in their environment.
The colony seems to be making a magnificent comeback, and they can only hope that things will soon be back to how they were before Hurricane Irma. These bird species aren't in the clear, however, because there are still the threats of tropical cyclones which threaten the region every year. And with the onset of climate change, there's much uncertainty still in the air.
Are there predators in that environment? So if there are predators, then there's also...
While in Barbuda, along with conducting surveys, the EAG also carried out educational activities with students returning to school after Hurricane Irma.
A big part of the work that the Environmental Awareness Group does is awareness. We are very keen to make sure that people are aware about the different species that exist around them and how our lives impact upon them and how they impact upon us. So it was important for us to share with the Barbudan public about the Barbuda Warbler, a bird that they've probably seen all their lives and maybe not recognize how special it is. Every time we think about Barbuda, we think only about the Frigate Bird Sanctuary, which is a fantastic and magnificent place to be. But we also wanted Barbudans to recognize that there's something even more special about Barbuda, the Barbuda Warbler, found nowhere else in the world. That we think birds are important. Now we're going to go through some 10 reasons, and we're going to have discussion about all of them. Even when we're speaking to children about all the different types of birds that are in Barbuda, they all have very different little colloquial names for them. So the Barbuda Warbler is often spoken of as the Christmas bird as well. And there are many different little names that they have for them that we don't know even. But it makes it so much more special to us because it says that they have owned this bird. This bird is a part of who they are, it's a part of their culture. And so as the EAG, we want to be able to have more interactions with Barbudans to share how special this bird is.
The carnival culture that we have here in Antigua and Barbuda, we're very accustomed to seeing, masquerade and costumes. And so by incorporating this into our work, we try to bring, a lively element to our presentation. When children first see me in the costume, they are usually a bit, excited. They're like, ooh, what is that? Who is that? What is she supposed to be? And then they realize, oh my gosh, she's a bird has come. They enjoy it quite a lot. And then all of them, of course, want to hug you and touch you and wobble. They want to fly with you. It's a great experience.
In an effort to get students to understand the importance of the endemic species of their island, the EAG also lets students take part in a practical activity that teaches them about the warbler. It all seems a bit odd at first, but then you start to realize how well this activity works when you observe the children's involvement in the activity.
We basically take a group of children and let them go through, it's called a bird survival game. And we ask them, do you think that being a bird is easy? You think you could do this every day? And they're just like, yeah, it's so easy, it's a breeze. And so we take them through all of the steps. The first one, of course, is finding and defending a territory. So if we get a bunch of males and they have to find their spot wherever we are and fight the other males to make sure that they get it, right? The second one, of course, is to find a mate. And so then we get the females and we line them up, and the males have to do, like in birds, they have to impress the females. So they have to sing, they have to dance. Then we ask the ladies, are you impressed? Most of the time they're not impressed actually, but eventually the males impress them and then they get to go back to their location. So then once they're there, they have to build a nest. And so we get them to go and get materials for their nest and make it really nice. We judge the best nest. After the nest, of course, is to lay eggs. So the female, we make her get into position and pretend that she's laying some eggs. And then, of course, the eggs hatch, and you have some more of the kids act as their chicks. And so you have to go and find food for your chicks. And then, so you still think being a bird is easy, and they're usually like, no. So the whole point of the activity is to gain an appreciation for all of the things that birds have to go through and to show that it's not as easy as you think it looks.
The EAG is hoping that education, along with the newly updated information gathered from the survey, will play a major role in helping the locals of Barbuda cherish and protect some of its most precious assets.